Good afternoon. Welcome to Back to Business Winter Roundtable with this awesome panel who we were all just chatting up literally right before we heard we're going live. My name is JP Hayes. I'm the marketing director with Connect Space. I'm super excited with the panel I have here today. We do a quick introduction. This is Rick Portwood, the president of Display Group. Trying not to use my cards. Kiana Wenzel with Design Core Detroit, who is also the director of the Month of Design. And then also Lynn Gleischer with, and she's going to be talking to us about being on the board with NACE. I want everyone to share a little bit of what you do. I'm going to start with Rick.
Okay.
Rick, can you tell us a little bit about Display Group and kind of that whole family of
Sure.
business?
Yeah. So Display Group is a creative collaborative of several different companies that are all working together to create your next best event. We do everything from unique event rentals, live shows, audio, video, and lighting, custom decor, and our newest company, Mandel, which does disposable decor and fabric decor. So.
Great. Hi, my name is Kiana Wenzel. I'm director of the Detroit Month of Design, which is an annual multidisciplinary design festival that occurs throughout the city of Detroit, September 1st through the 30th. And 2021 marked our 11th edition of the festival. The Detroit Month of Design is produced by Design Core Detroit, which is a nonprofit economic development organization housed within the College for Creative Studies.
Cool. And Lynn, what about you?
Sure, I'm Lynn Gleischer, and I work for Rec Central, but we represent the Bedrock portfolio of event venues. So we are part of the entire Rock family of companies, which includes Rock and Mortgage, Amrock, and several other companies, both locally and throughout the country. So we have, my particular team works with our event venues that we own throughout the city of Detroit. And so we use those both for internal events that our company is doing, but they're also available for external organizations, individuals, and so on to use for whatever events they might be planning.
Awesome.
And then I also have been a longtime member of NACE, which is the National Association for Catering and Events, and just this year was elected to the National Board Director. So starting in January, we will be working on a lot of initiatives for event professionals throughout the country.
Right.
But it's great to finally have a Detroit representative on the board. I don't know that we've had that ever, or at least in a very long time. So to be able to talk about the great successes that we're doing in Detroit is fantastic.
That's awesome. We'll be circling back with you
Yep.
later with some events that are going to be happening in 2022. Also, I want to bring to the stage a friend of ours, Silvana Boguski with Silver Platter Event Staffing. Silvana, can you tell us a little bit about what your organization provides?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm Silvana Boguski with Silver Platter Event Staffing, and we provide staff when the venues can't, have enough staff or need supplement staff, and we help where we can with, big and small events and corporate and private events. So we can come to your home, we can come to your business, and we supply servers, bartenders, cleaners, dishwashers, even chefs if you need. So yeah, we're here for you. We've been in business since 2014, been in the industry for quite some time now, almost 20 years, actually a little more.
Yeah, right.
It's been great.
Great. I know, we're going to be kind of bouncing back and forth between topics with labor and networking and the whole thing. I want to sort of kick off with some things that people have managed through 2020, which is kind of, we all know what that was. But Rick, I'm going to go to you first because while a lot of us were shuttered or furloughed or, we lost our jobs, Display Group, it felt like you guys doubled down and leaned into shifts in the industry. And I think I'm a big fan of Mike.
Sure.
And if you tell us a little bit about that, and then also you managed a feat that I can't believe by bringing, I'm gonna let you talk about it.
3D printer.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you can share a little bit about that.
Well, first off, I think that it was the week after the shutdown. So the third week of March, 2020, as I'm sure we all know.
It was like March 16th,
Yeah.
my last day, right?
And So we had some clients that did live events all over the country, and they called us and said, hey, this is how we sell our products. What can we do? And Mike came up with the concept of converting our showroom into a temporary studio and to do virtual events. And it just kind of snowballed. And that it was all good and fine up until about the fall. And then our DG3D started getting really busy with a huge custom project out at the Paramount lot in Los Angeles. And we had to create these translucent thrones for a gaming contest. And the only way that we could figure out how to do it quickly was to have this giant 3D printer. So, getting a machine from Israel and a technician from Israel to come in during COVID was very challenging.
We couldn't even get to the grocery store, and you're bringing. I don't even want to know. I'm not going to ask specifics on how you
all
that, but
all the planets had to align.
Right.
I think that we were a little lucky. Even getting the proper transformer to run the machine we had to go and find one that was used and bring it in from Flint. So it's just, we were not going to sit back and wait for something. And I think a lot of companies did that, but we decided, no, we're going to double down. We invested in a lot of video wall. We now have the most video wall in town. And we're doing these outdoor events for people where they could have the event, they could see it, they could tune in on their radio and still function. Their organizations could still function. So that was really well received. And then, obviously when you couldn't get equipment anymore, we had kind of locked in a lot of that equipment and had ordered it early. So we were in pretty good shape.
It's the wall I want to hear about more as well, because I think that I know you do outdoor festivals, and I think a lot of people are trying to incorporate outdoor, indoor. Kiana, with the month of design, I think some people might be like, wait, why, what's happening right now? Can you tell us a little bit? I know that Design Core is support services for the design industry, and what that we we work with designers. You have a team of designers. I think people hear things like, oh, Display Group does this, and we don't stop and take a step back and be like, these are all design, art-focused creatives. Something that I don't think a lot of people know is the city is a UNESCO City of Design.
Yes.
What does that actually mean?
Yes. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. So it's a mouthful. So the acronym is UNESCO, but I don't think we call it out enough. This is the United Nations preserving education, science, and our cultural assets.
Global. I mean, it's global.
It's a global
recognized
designation and call out and recognition
right.
of your city's commitment to using design as an economic development tool
right.
and putting design at the forefront of your city's urban development plans. And so we know the past of Detroit and all of our great assets, but also it's forward facing,
right.
and the designation didn't come with a lump sum of money. There are 43 cities around the world that are in the Creative Cities Network. Detroit is the first and only in the United States. We received the designation in 2015
right.
after submitting an application that went through an extensive review process. And we were awarded that designation because of our commitment, to design, stimulating positive economic activity. In this discussion right now, the events industry, tourism and attraction, job creation, job growth, it's huge for us, and so it's recognizing that. Design Core, our mission is champions of Detroit design. So how can we support design-driven businesses to make sure that they're meeting customers? We do a lot of business-to-business matchmaking.
Right.
We do a lot of mentorships for emerging designers or creating opportunities for established companies like the Display Group.
Right.
Whenever I have a referral, I'm sending them, creating that pipeline.
Well, I think people lose sight of what design, they hear designer, and I think that means different things for
it's a loaded word.
It's a loaded word.
Yes.
I think here we're in automotive, so we're like, oh, automotive design. I mean, you've got everybody here works with teams we have UI design in what we do, right? It matters how things are approached. It matters the look. You have design on a whole slew of different things.
We always lead with design.
Right.
You know, that's where it all starts.
Facilities, the design, I think people lose sight too, that design is also flow and what you can and cannot do. And so when I used to manage a facility, when people like Lynn and I are like, no, you can't do that. There's a reason, there's a no, and it has to do with the design, which has to do with the flow, which has to do with function.
Right.
And so design is in everything. It's in the cup you just grab to take a sip of coffee. It's in the chair that we're seated in. It's all of it. So it is all encompassing. And that is why having you on the panel makes sense. Where someone might be like, wait, I'm not sure why design core would be involved in an events. There's graphic design. We do really amazing things. I know Bedrock does some really awesome things with totally losing my words right now, but think sculpturally.
Installation.
Right? Thank you.
Installation.
Thank you. We were talking earlier about aging. It's fine. Yeah, we're just going to ignore that. So I want to jump over to Lynn and let's talk a little bit about Rock Central and the facilities. You all have a lot of venues.
We do, and it changes.
It changes, and that's it. It
Constantly
changes.
growing.
It changes.
But I was going to say, so there may not be a specific number at the moment.
Yeah.
Is there an ish number
There's
that we're
an ish.
talking about?
So there are currently 6 main venues right now, really 5 that are that you could utilize in a lot of different ways. State Savings Bank Madison, the new One Campus Marsh's space on the 16th floor, the Beacon. We have a rock studio, which is for virtual events, so we're doing a lot of those as well. And then we have 2 conference rooms that people can use as well. But our big excitement is heading towards 2024 when Hudson's will be done, and we'll have a big event space
Can't
there
wait.
as
Yeah,
well. So
I know.
we're
It's
excited
amazing.
about that.
Do you have, again, I'm going to ask you a test question.
Yeah.
Like, that's not confirmed, just go with it's not confirmed.
Sure. Okay.
Do we have an idea of how many square feet of event space they're thinking? Because I know everything changes, you know, it's build out, so there's still the opportunity for change. Are we talking 20,000? Are we talking 10,000? Are we talking 50,000? Do we have an idea of the scope of those things?
Bigger than what we currently have,
Okay.
but not as big as TCF, now Huntington.
Got
so
it. Okay,
somewhere
that's
in between.
wow.
And so I've seen the plans; they've not been released publicly, but
okay. Out
it's
there.
going to be exciting
Got
to see that be released to the public, so we can share all the great news
That's
with that
awesome.
for sure.
Super cool. So Silvana, I don't know if she's with us because I'm not seeing her right now. Hey there. I want to ask you a little bit. We were having a great conversation before the event started. And you know, we were talking about bartender and service staff. I'm going to sidebar really quick and then jump back to the conversation we were having earlier. Are you looking for professional people that are already trained in this, or do you provide coaching? Is there something, because really, you know, we're touching on labor, we're touching on people that are freelance right now. The industry is not 100%. There are people that are still kind of in between things and people that are considering the industry. And I think this is a really great way for them to get into it, do some side hustle, if you will, or make it a career.
Sure.
And see if this is the type of thing that they want to get into. What are you looking for? We are gonna go ahead and give a link to the Silver Platter, just a Gmail email, because I know we're working through some new branding, so that's exciting. And everyone's like, I know you were concerned, I don't have a logo yet. I'm like, I know your branding is great, everyone gets it. But what are some of the things that you're looking for in people to bring on board?
So basically, we love people with experience. Obviously, that's amazing, and we appreciate that. But we also we also appreciate more so is the attitude and the can-do, attitude that we want to present to our clients and to our guests, so that we can fulfill that memorable experience that everyone looks for their one event or whatever events they're having that year. Sometimes we find experienced people and they're not a good fit. So
Right.
It's not always experience is number one. The experience is great, but the attitude has to come with it as well.
You and I, we were connected. Just a little bit of backstory with Savannah and I. We worked together years ago at the Ritz-Carlton. And so it is that whole hospitality service thing, people pleaser. I think there's a big misnomer. When you're a people pleaser, you're a doormat. Nope, not a doormat. But I want you to be happy. We did a lot of laughing. But we were just having this conversation about that, the right kind of attitude. And I think it goes across a lot of things. It's that lean in attitude. It doesn't mean you have to give all of yourself, but it's a willingness to like, hey, what can I do to make this a better situation? No matter what if it's a short term, if it's a long term, what am I doing today to make this work?
Absolutely.
The best for myself and the people around me. So I think that was really big, but I want to go into, because we all started asking questions like, so do you provide full service bar? Is it just service? And you had mentioned some things about having some partners that you work with for licensing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're accommodating anyone and everyone who is and what they're looking for, what their venue is for, what their needs are. So we will look at that specifically, and every event is different. So we will partner up with other people and make sure that their needs are met. If it's, bar supplies, bar as far as fruit, and what the needs are for their bar and what they're looking to serve. Some people just want a beer and wine. Some people just want maybe a signature cocktail with a couple non-alcoholic beverages. Mocktails are always popular with Bedrock. We do a lot of stuff with them, and they'll want just mocktails, and that's fine too, where it's non-alcoholic and fun. And
I keep getting on my Facebook thread all this non-alcoholic stuff, and I'm like, I don't ever remember clicking anywhere on a non-alcoholic drink, so I'm not sure. But now I'm like, that's probably better for my health. So I'm hearing what you're saying. Like
the algorithm's trying to tell you something.
It's just an option. I started to get nervous because I was like, why? So I'm like, oh, they're looking at my shopping. Got it.
Yeah, mocktails they became a thing, but you can always add vodka to any of them. And
right. They make a great mixer. Oh, great. I don't know if that's the message, but that's funny. I want to bring up a little bit the networking thing, kind of why we're here. Again, we're trying to continue the really awesome conversation we're having right before this. I was like, you guys stop talking, because this is what we need to talk about. It's that networking piece. It's having people from different backgrounds. It's having people like Rick has a healthy, strong company. We're a startup. Kiana's a nonprofit. Bedrock is both internal, external, and it's like, how do we make each other better? We're trying to bring these groups of people together that we're not all event managers, or we're not all AV, we're not all just categorized a certain way. I know that NACE, I went to my first NACE event in November, and shame on me, I have 20 plus years of experience, and I've never been to one. And we are an online event platform, and on the surface, it doesn't seem like a place where we would make sense, except for their shifts. So your traditional wedding planner or caterer, like, people want to do other things, because I think we're all a little twitchy. What can I do What can I do if things close down again, or if they shut things, like there's capacities? I think we're all, and it doesn't even have to be a pandemic, it can be something else. It can be, I think we're all aware of how we need to start contracting going forward, because the acts of God included a whole new realm. But NACE, we were there, and we had people that do bridal planning interested in doing conference services and that kind of thing. So they were interested in what we had to say. What if someone wants to be a member of an organization like yours? Why would they want to?
So I've actually been a member for about 15 years, and I moved to a few different cities in my career, and it's always the very first thing I do when I move to a city is find a NACE chapter, right? Because to me, these are people who are invested in our industry, that are committed to making it better, and I know that I'm going to immediately find a group of people who can tell me who to look for planning, who to look for event design, and for rentals, and who to go to for catering. And so those are even though I'm also trying to sell my business,
right,
I need to be able to make good recommendations to my clients. And so that is really where I go to first to find those recommendations, but to just be able to ask the question. So COVID hit, how are you handling it? What are you doing for cancellation? How are you handling this? And to be able to have, it's one thing to call somebody up out of the blue that you don't have a relationship with, but to be able to call somebody that you see on a monthly basis and say, how did you handle that? Or,
Well, and I think the thing too is like when you're all in a similar industry,
Right.
You don't have to explain to people sort of some of the shenanigans that occur. I'm looking at one of our team members who's in the audience, or they use the word shenanigans. But if it's kind of funny. It's that knowing thing. So we all have stories that we would never say outwardly,
right.
but we all can go, oh my gosh, stop, I know. And that's the thing, like the biggest thing I'm missing being kind of where I sit now in marketing versus kind of a traditional events role is load-ins. You heard what was shutting down, you heard who was opening, you heard new people, you heard, I've got this great engineer, or I've got this, or did you, so-and-so does this, or I saw this at an event, and it's referral too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, it's the trust thing, it's the referral, it's, I don't do what I used to do, but I know that you have great spaces, I know that you have some amazing things that you're doing now with the 3D piece. I think the 3D piece is just very cool. I feel like that's a game changer. I feel like it had to have been a bit of a game changer, but that could just be me, like on the outside looking in.
Well, we have, that's just one of many machines that we have. So,
Right.
But I mean, from a speed standpoint, absolutely,
Yeah.
it was a game changer.
Yeah.
Um,
I just wanted to go back and say that
Yeah.
we've been members of NACE for, I want to say like 29 years. It was the first group that I joined when I was the only salesperson. And I just felt like it was just one of the best ways to network with people. And when we're getting ready to open an office in Tampa, and that's exactly what I said to the guy down there, is like, you got to join NACE.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
It's great. It's those connections. There's education opportunities. There's
are there CE credits involved?
yes. There's also a certification. So the Certified Professional in Catering and Events. So if you want to have some fancy letters after your name, there's a really great
Well, I think
opportunity
it helps
to
because
do
I
that.
do think there's credibility to that, because what it means is that you have taken the time to personally try to bring yourself up to, at a minimum, the standard of understanding for the industry. And I think that's what those letters, because everyone thinks the letters are great, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just like, oh, I just stamped some letters. They actually have legit meaning, and there's a genuine. If you see that, there's an understanding that person that you are considering hiring has at least a basic understanding of the things that you're going to need as someone looking to hire whatever the business is that you're looking to
And that
hire.
they continue, because there's ongoing requirements to maintain it. They
What's
continue
the
to take
continue
the
the,
classes.
because getting the things, like I have a PMP, which is slightly different, but it's like, when you have to keep that certification going, and I think that's what anyone out there looking to hire people, look for those types of certifications, because it's that check-in for people, where it's like, 'cause things do change with the industry. Hybrid online platforms, that was gonna be coming. I don't know about you and your facilities, but ours, you guys do a lot of live streaming. I know you guys, that's like a whole, you have an awesome
Well, we were already
stage,
doing it.
right?
We were already doing it for our clients. If there were, undoubtedly there's somebody you can't make it, or there's people who can't make it. So they always wanted, or executives wanted to be able to tune in. So it was, all that equipment was in-house.
Right, and so now it's mainstream, like it's still, we were talking earlier, so we'll throw a picture up here, kind of what our back of house setup is. Because it's very straightforward. I will always defer to the professionals. If I have a budget for AV, my recommendation, just from years of experience in being in a facility where I also handled AV, which was always terrified me, because that's not where my strong suits are. You've seen me stress out before. I used to work with CCS. I worked at CCS, and so Kiana and I have done events together. She still talks to me. It's great. But it is always go with, that's what people do. AVL, that's if I have the budget for it. But sometimes you're just doing kind of a meet and greet like this. We're chatting, having a conversation. You don't have it. You can do amazing things with webcams. We have a monitor so we can see Silvana when we're chatting with her and we're looking at her, and it does feel interactive. And I think we're all getting used to that now, feeling more normal. I'm an introvert, so I love it. So the rest of you want live events. I'm like, I should probably talk to you step out of events.
That's where hybrid comes in.
That's where hybrid comes in. So I think the networking capabilities of hybrid are huge. Kiana Kiana, I want to ask you, for the month of design, you aren't that, like, you're kind of wrangling other people that are managing individual events. So you're sort of up here and you got all these events happening. What is it, global? Is it local? Like, who are these people that are applying, and do they apply? Like,
Yes.
how do you get involved? How do you get to be a part of the month of design?
Every year we host an open call for 2022. It's going to be launched in February.
Okay.
So we host an open call February through April. Last year we received 118 submissions. And we have a curatorial committee that helps us narrow down the submissions. It's a multidisciplinary festival, so we're looking to show like built environment, visual community, product design, and show a holistic view of Detroit's design community. So we narrowed down to about 80 events we had this year
That's a
in
lot of
May.
events.
That's a lot of events, and we call them independent happenings.
Okay.
And so most of the events are put on by independent organizers, which means managing it, producing it, and Design Corps is creating the platform and the stage.
Okay.
And so this year we had in person, time ticketed, wear masks. We had outdoor self-guided installations and some virtual. So it's really a mix. We really showcase Detroit's design community, but then also the UNESCO community.
Okay,
We had a
that's what I
mobility
wanted to- I wanna say,
exhibition,
I saw some
yes.
things on local news, and that's why I was like, is this local or is it global? Because there were a couple, I saw some
Yeah.
interaction with some folks from other places.
What I like to say is local impact with global influence.
That's kind of
Because
awesome, right?
Detroit is a global design capital.
I just don't think people realize that enough. I mean, we
And,
all know
yes.
what we have. We have all worked with, like, we know.
When we're out pitching, we a lot of in our custom division, we're pitching a lot of exhibit companies and design companies all over the country, and we actually say that because we're in Detroit, we are the best solution. Because if it's something that we can't do, which we can do a lot, but if it's something that we can't do, you can find it here. There's people that do all different kinds of things with metal and wood and casting and
Yep.
3D printing, and so I think that I know people in LA are just like, wow, you guys can do anything.
I do. I think when
Mhm.
people, when they have a reason to come into, whether it's the automotive that brings them in, or now there's tech and there's a lot of different things, and obviously we're doing the whole EV piece, like any eyes on is always helpful. I do think people are surprised. I think there's always kind of this flux. There's people that are like, oh no, I always knew it, but then there are people who are like, oh, I had no idea. And I saw a lot of it when I was working on the 11th floor up here. We have different conferences, and people are like, I didn't know.
Right.
I'm like, well, now you do.
Yeah, and it's important because to spit off some facts about Detroit. Detroit has the highest concentration of industrial designers nationally. And it makes sense because of our automotive history that we would have so many automotive suppliers, that we would be producing a lot of industrial designers to create the equipment and the
Right.
machines. We have the highest concentration of art and design schools dedicated to design and creativity.
And we're in the first floor of one of them.
First floor of one of them, and we're like the mobility capital, not just
Right.
transportation and car design, but smart technology,
Right.
smart streets, a smart car, highest concentration of research and development facilities for
That is
Ford,
something
GM,
I guess that makes sense when you put it in that context.
Even I know that Toyota's,
Toyota.
Hyundai, I think they all have.
Yes.
I want to make great when it's no longer what is New York and what is LA doing, but what is Detroit doing? When the rest of the country starts looking at Detroit,
Right.
like, what are they doing
Well,
there?
and
Because
I
that's
mean,
the next
Even
trend.
unfortunately, the pandemic hit, and I think towns like ours, cities like ours, with a history like ours, which isn't always pretty,
Mhm.
but then it's also beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
we have all this mixed bag, and I think that's what lends itself. But right before the pandemic hit, we were on Zagat's list even for food and beverage.
Right.
And I think that will come back. It's I think we're a little war torn, but I think we are figuring out ways going forward so that you don't hit the same way.
Yeah, and I'll say that I've done a lot of traveling this year. I've been to a lot of different major cities, and when I had some people in over the summer, and I brought them downtown to the skating
Yeah.
or the
Monroe.
Yeah, the Monroe block.
Yep.
and there were just people everywhere.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that in other cities. I think that there's even when it's cold out, there's a lot of activity. I think you can probably give most of that credit to Bedrock, because I think that they're super creative in coming up with really cool things for people to come down and experience. And I think that I mean, it's been a setback, but I'm still pretty bullish.
Well, I think it's a setback, but I think we're all taking notes.
Yeah.
So I think, we all know what's happening in the news right now. We know what's happening in the news in Michigan right now, but so we're all sort of, and that's again, the importance of chatting, like, what are your plans? How are you handling it? And I think everyone, we're event people, so we're always used to the plan A, B, and C. And now we're just, A and B are kind of, they're all interchangeable. It's the same thing with hybrid versus live, or hybrid and live.
Right.
You know,
the ability to pivot.
it's
to
the
know
ability to
what
pivot,
we're gonna
which is a word I've learned to be like, oh, it's cringy, but it's also accurate. It's what we do.
Right.
I want to ask a question about the 2020.
Month of design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you guys do? Because everything was shut down.
We really looked at our mission statement, Champions of Detroit Design, and what's the role of a designer in the midst of a pandemic.
Right.
And designers are inherently, I believe, optimistic. We're problem solvers.
Right.
So a designer's not going to conform and say, well, the world is
I
over.
give up, right.
Designers
I mean, this guy
transform.
leaned in and
Yes.
on a stage.
Design-driven companies, we transform our mindset. We transform the situation and go from there. What's the role of a designer in a public health crisis? So we stopped saying, this festival isn't about just a celebration surface level. We're talking about real impact for designers in
Everyday
the future, everyday life. And then we started to see the community respond. And so that's what's great about the festival. It's different every year because the submissions reflect what's going on in our community every year.
Yeah, okay.
When the pandemic hit in March, which was midway through the open call, we're like, do people still want to do this? I don't know. Do they still want to do this or not? But first our team came together, looked at our values, looked at our mission statement, and then we started to see applications still trickle in. And it's interesting because the designers started submitting just virtual events on their own. Or they say, you know what, my installation's outside and it's self-guided.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And so I started doing like 15-minute chats with everybody that submitted or people that were thinking about submitting. And they were like, no, I have an idea. I have Detroit Denim. Their whole industrial sewing facility, they went from making jeans to making hospital gowns for Henry Ford Health System. They then took like the strips and remnants from the gowns and created an outdoor installation in this beautiful blue color. It was so beautiful.
Right.
Citizen Robotics, they now have robots that are making like housing more affordable.
And that's what I think people need to hear, because that's not the world I live in.
Yes.
So hearing this, I know that we put a link for Design Core, and I think people really should look into it, because I think there's a lot of content out there, and I think people are tired a little bit. We've all been virtual. Well, like, me, I get hit 1,000 times a day with marketing emails, but it's stuff like that. It's scratching the surface. Like, again, design, what does that mean? I don't think people really start thinking through sometimes, unless I'm a designer. Well, I come from an event background. I'm in marketing. So my focus goes a certain way. And I just think there's so many different levels and layers and opportunity. And again, that's why I like bringing groups of people together. Because all of a sudden, like, oh, now I've got ideas, because I'm not talking to the same people I always talk to.
Right. And then the role, even with a display group in AVL, if there's a nonprofit out there, let's say the Arthritis Foundation, for example, and they count on this in-person event to raise money for research and for cures, Rick can help them still raise the funds that they need.
Well, you've got stuff
through
on your website
their services
too, where they've used their space to do auctions.
Auctions
And so
and
you have all kinds of things going on.
So with
Yeah.
designers and a creative attitude, it's not over.
Right.
We can figure it out, working together and collectively
Yeah.
exchanging our resources.
Well, and I sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add that we've been a sponsor
Yes.
of Design Core since we got the UNESCO.
Doesn't it 5 years or
Yeah.
more?
Well, I
Yes.
also want to jump in that
Yeah.
Display Group is very Detroit focused. You guys do a lot of support in a lot of different ways. Like, even when
We try to.
You do, and it's obvious in the building that you're in. It's obvious when so I had shift and change, and personally for me during the pandemic, and I just posted a different opportunity that I was doing, and I think you reached out to me and you're like, that's great, we should stay in touch, because you never know it's all the referral, right? And then I was like, oh, great, well, we're doing this. I'd love to come down and see it. And like, yeah, maybe we'll try to sell you. Maybe we won't. We'll see. We'll still be, I always tell Mike, I go, we're going to try to sell you all the time. And if you say no, we're going to try again. We're still going to be friends. We're just going to keep trying. He just laughs and goes, okay. And it's because you never know when. It may not be today, may not be tomorrow, or maybe I do. Or it's the referral thing. But when we were walking through, your space is indicative of kind of your heart and soul and being of Detroit and for Detroit. And you do stuff all over the country, but it's still like you get excited like a lot of people get excited. I don't know that people really know that about you.
No, well, we certainly, one of our core values, is a commitment to our community, and obviously Detroit is the main part of that community.
Right.
So yeah, we try to support it and be a good corporate citizen. And it's funny, just a little story about collaboration.
Yeah.
I had a client call me who was doing an installation, and she needed a bunch of colorful pillows for the install. And I said, oh, just come down. You can just take them, and we have no business coming in, but I'm just like, come on down. You can take them. Well, when she came in to get the pillows, she saw the temporary studio. And so she ended up referring us to somebody who did like a $200,000 event in the studio,
Yeah.
So it's like, I think just like keeping
then
in
you
touch
sent
with
her
people
gifts.
and helping people
Right.
and,
Yeah.
I think that's just, what it's all
Well,
about.
it's awareness. If I know about you and I know someone needs something and I know that you're confident and capable and care.
Yeah, Rick and I actually did a collaboration event in 2020. In the midst of the pandemic in September, it was time ticketed. It was a very select, small group. We
Right.
all wore masks, but we brought an intentional group of people that we knew were looking to pivot their events
Okay.
to this spray group and did a tour so they could see what was available. Because a big misconception about design is it's just products. But
I
designers
agree.
create products, services, and systems. So AVL services it's design driven, but it's not like a cup or a chair like people think. And so that matchmaking is kind of like helping people realize services that they may not even know that they need or know where to find them.
Right.
We just can't operate in silos. We
Right.
have to, in order to be successful, we have to rely on each other and we need
Well,
to know where to find people.
And that lends itself into, so you're with NACE, and
Right.
I met Lisa Gephardt, who's the president
Right.
of the Detroit chapter, who connected me with Connie, the president of,
Yeah.
who works for Bedrock. And I know you're doing a combined event, because we were talking about
Right.
people, there's so much out there right now. I think people are still sort of like, I'm not sure which direction we're going, and I think they're positive, and it's not all doom and gloom, but it's still, there's a little bit of holding pattern in certain segments of our industry still. And it is about staying networked. When I hear people like, how do you share about what your business is, or how do you like just lean into somebody, and it's the networking piece, and then people are like, ugh, another networking thing. Like the introvert.
Right,
I'm
right.
so
It's hard.
grateful. Like I know it's good for me. So we got a table at the last NACE, and I can't say enough. Like doing those vendor tables, it's just takes one person, and it gives people an opportunity to walk up to you and say hi. And it's you don't know what to say. Guess what? You're talking about what you're gonna say, and then it just sort of happens because we all intrinsically work in the same industry. So you can take the most introverted person who likes to hang out with their dogs on the couch, and I'm gonna chat away.
Right.
So
January.
January,
Yeah,
yes,
January
please.
19th, we are going to do a combined with NACE and ILEA. And it'll be at our new One Campus Marsh's 16th floor space, which is absolutely gorgeous.
So it'll be a cool time to tour the space.
Okay, tour the
and
space.
see an actual
We
event.
haven't seen it
Yeah.
yet, but also we really want to bring as many event professionals in all the different disciplines together.
Right.
So that we can all celebrate that we are a thriving community, that we do great work in this city, and that we're here to support each other.
Right.
So it's just going to be a really great
Well, we
event.
did put links to both teams,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
Because we have that conversation like building together. We're providing something called Event Bid. So if you are, if you're watching right now, on the left-hand side, you'll see something that looks like a little hut, but if you highlight it, it says contributors. And it's our expo booth. We call them contributors because they're people that I've worked with or have known or trust and have faith in and believe in their product. NACE is listed in there. Display Group's a sponsor, so their information's there. But Event Bid, you want to know a little bit more about it. Connect Space is trying to offer a free service. It's a digital Rolodex. We are not going to use that place to sell to anybody. It is literally for you to place your company name in there, and then you tag what you provide or what you're seeking, and then it's utilized as it's a link for you to go in. If you're looking for a florist, we'll get Sylvana in there. If you're looking for a bartender, I believe ADL is already in there. We want it to be more populated. We're looking for caterers, florists. Tanya Williams, who also I want to give a shout out to. We have a link that we want to put in the chat. Tanya, I do not know personally. Tanya, I know of because a friend of mine has utilized her organization for a very big C-suite level event that happens here every September. And my friend, Colleen Robar PR, was telling me about her, and she did some amazing things for her staff during when things shut down to just keep people working. And that to me is the essence of event folks. Like, you're just trying to make it happen. You care about people. You want to see things work. So I want to give a shout out to Tanya. And then I'm going to do a quick sidebar so I don't forget. I ran into Charlie Kletchuk, who you know, who we've done some work together. He's now working with Monger's Provision. So if you all are looking for that interactive, right? We ran into each other. I don't know how he recognized me through the mask. They opened in my neighborhood, and we were chuckling. He was telling me how they had been working with some folks who would order things to send, who were doing hybrid events to keep people engaged. So I think a lot of our people, and I think a lot of event professionals out there, they know that game. Like, we want to keep people engaged. And then there's also, today's Free Press is a great resource. We're going to throw that link in for all kinds of Michigan-made products. So when you're wanting to share some love with your whomever, your clients, your coworkers, our thing is pushing Michigan business. But for event professionals, you do have to fill out a form. It's a few questions. It's basically like, what's your intention to do business in Michigan? We also want people from outside of Michigan. Their intention is to do business here because we want them to be able to find you guys. We want them to be able to find businesses that they might not, if you do a search, you're going to get a lot of names, right? So we talked about some things we might be able to do to help support what Mace and ILEA are trying to do with the January 19th event.
Yeah.
I saw that the name has changed because I know it was supposed to be a different name. And,
we're trying to keep it professional.
So I can't say it because of the look she just gave, but it was really an awesome.
A little edgy, but
it was an edgy name.
Edgy, but we gotta keep it professional.
So there's a wink and a nod because now it's a very professional name. But I think it's a really great opportunity. I don't want people to go. I think just go to these events. Like, I'm glad I went. We get tired. We're just like, oh God, because we're event people, we do events all the time.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're just like, oh God, but it really is. There's like meeting Lisa was great because we had a sidebar conversation. We had a bunch of people in common, and then we started giggling about some of the things that we've had to work through.
Yeah.
So, and I know that Rick earlier, before we started recording, offered up some services.
Yeah, he said he would do some events.
So I'm gonna link it back in.
Anyone else
for
that wants to,
potential
we're
space,
always
right?
looking.
So yeah, I know that these organizations are like facilities matter. Before I went, and then the Detroit Events Council has another resource for referral. It was really huge, about 900 now. Members
Almost 2,000
on Facebook. Huge, great referral system. And again, where people lean in when someone's like, oh my gosh, my facility just pulled out and I have a wedding in 2 months. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, just search for it on Facebook. It's called the Detroit Events Council.
We're putting it in the chat. Yep.
And it's really just, we ask that people don't
Sell
advertise their
your
space. It's not
right.
aggressive selling, but if somebody says, hey, I'm looking for, I need to have a 3D model of something made, somebody's going to throw in
display groups. There is a woman that loves you guys. Every time she does an event, I'm like, wow, she really
There's
likes
more
this.
than one.
fans out there.
We got more than one fan page. But this one was cracking me up because whatever you guys did for her in an event, I was like, wow, I'm like, that firstborn is going to be named Rick.
We aim to please.
Yeah.
One thing just kind of related to what you were talking about, one thing that I was tasked with in our management team when things were down was reaching out to people in the industry. competitors, all kinds of people, just to do like a welfare check. How you doing? And through that, that's how Mandel joined our group because she was pretty close to hanging it up. And
Now tell us what that is.
so Mandel is a Mandel Display Design, and they do disposable decor for weddings, a lot of bar mitzvahs in general, store windows, really anything. She's just a really talented person. They've been around for, I want to say, almost 40 years.
Wow.
I used to, going way back, I used to sell Barb Mandel foam board at my cousin's company, Display Creations, before I started Display Group. So Barb and I go way back, but Jenna is the owner. And I think that what we found was Jenna's a super creative person. Yeah. She does amazing work, but running the business part of it was something that really didn't appeal to her that much anymore.
If you're a creative, that's a hard two-headed space to be in.
Yeah, and so our management team serves as the management team for all of the different companies. So we help them with strategy and pulling everything together and really allow them to go out and do what they do best, and not be mired down in those little details, because a lot of people just hate doing those things.
That's fair. So I'm going to stick with you here for a minute, Rick. I heard a great podcast, and the event guys, we're going to put a link in, and I know that they kind of started producing their podcast when things got quiet, and now the podcast is a bit quiet, but they're all producers and entertainers, and so we're like, dang, I'm supposed to hear that. Sad that, thank you, open about it. I'm sad that they got quiet for a little bit, but that only means to me that they're working, which is fantastic, but they do have some really great interviews. Yours is one of them. I think yours was the first one. And I learned a lot about you from that. And I appreciate you coming and joining us here, because I do feel like you're in that mentor phase of the industry a little bit, just because of the things that you've done and kind of where you're at now. And the guys had brought up, I'm gonna EOS, sort of a management style. Can you tell us a little bit of what that is? And then I want to follow up to see if you guys have a place that are similar or do something also for your teams. Yeah,
well, it's the entrepreneurial operating system, and really what it's supposed to be is where you're just giving very clear direction to everyone, and so everybody's pulling in the same direction. So we have an operations manager who oversees all the operations for all the companies. We have a CFO that does that for all the companies. So
no small task.
Yeah, but we meet quarterly for a full day, and then annually for 2 days, and we just kind of map out our short-term goals, our long-term goals, even all the way up to 10 years. Just so we have this vision, and if you just kind of, as long as you're focused on that vision, it's pretty easy to get there, because everybody understands.
How long have you been doing that system, kind of consistently?
I'd say 4 years.
Did you find when 2020 hit that when you guys would gather that vision tweaked, or were you still?
Well, one thing that we implemented almost immediately was a really quick 15-minute touch base of all the managers to basically cover hey, what was a win from yesterday? What's going to be a win for today? And are you stuck anywhere? Do you have any problems?
We kind of do something similar to that.
So in this little, which we're still doing it today, but in this quick 15-minute meeting, it's like everybody knows where everybody is. Everybody, if somebody needs help, we kind of talk it out and just kind of keep the train moving.
We did that at the Ritz-Carlton too. We did it because it would give us the heads down, the big picture, and then we do it within our specific team.
And then quite honestly, I think that we've taken some of the isms, some of the things that Mr. Gilbert has put into their whole operation, and I love, if you've never read the isms book, it's just great, because I think it's just really good practical information on how to be successful.
Shoot your message, I'll mail it to you.
I the book we did several events, and it really is. I've met some of the most hardworking focused people, and it is because if you align them, get everyone kind of lined
Yeah.
up. I know you're a smaller team. I don't know if you do anything like that.
You know what? We're on EOS too.
I saw her eyes light up. I'm like, what's happening right
I
now
just
over
love
there?
it. Like 2 years, we're not doing the quarterly meetings with our leadership team, but we should do that. But I took EOS when I was on the leadership for the National Organization of Minority Architects. So we started
Okay.
that. We had a facilitator, but we set 90-day goals, 1 year goal, 3 year, and then a long-term vision. And so with that, we just say, what are we trying to accomplish in the next 90 days?
Right.
By March 30th, I will have accomplished these 5 to 7 things. And then weekly, we're just checking in. Am I on track? Am I off track?
Right.
Are there any issues or barriers that are blocking me from accomplishing this goal? If so, let's talk about it as a team so we can overcome it. And it keeps me on track. I love EOS. I have the traction book on my desk right now.
Yeah.
So it's been about 1.5 years, 2 years, but it's something that I really want to keep working on. So
Yeah, I think you had mentioned in that interview that it's like you guys had, or you had been introduced to it, and then you were like, okay, I did a little bit, and then you really leaned into it and made it a part of your
Well,
business.
I had tried to put it together on my own with
Right.
very little luck. So we ended up hiring an integrator
Okay,
who works with our team and helps us
but
do
that's,
it all.
that in and of itself is a smart move, because if you're like, I don't have capacity for this because I'm focused elsewhere. It's sort of like the situation with being a creative but not wanting to do the business side. It's sort of like when you know where you want to spend focus, bringing in somebody. So that's smart. Does your team do any sort of, I mean, I know your teams within teams because I've worked with different facets of
We're a very large organization, but we do, we have a couple of things. The isms are obviously
Right.
huge in what we do. We also have OKRs, which are objectives and key results. So that's both from the company as well as each team has theirs, as well as each individual team member has to every quarter come up with what are they working on,
Right.
both professionally and personally to develop themselves, and then that all comes together. So, but even just in our team meetings that we do, one of the isms that innovation is rewarded, but execution is worship. We are constantly thinking, how do we do this better, smarter, with the end result being a better event for our clients and for our team member experience. So we're constantly asking people to share their ideas and figure out how do we make this happen. And we're reviewing things that went well and things that didn't go so well. And we're,
I think it's the reviewing piece. It's sort of like doing a post after an event. The worst thing anyone can do after a big event is not meet and talk about the event to say, doesn't mean that anything necessarily went wrong, but how could it have been better?
Right.
We all know the behind the scenes where you're like, oh, if people only knew the fire going on behind that curtain right now.
Absolutely.
Right?
And they're very supportive. And, if we make a mistake, we do, but we always figure out not only what can you learn, but what can the rest of our team learn? Because
Well, and I think it promotes that that camaraderie thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're, again, there's all kinds of working by yourself
Right.
right now. And
Right.
it's really, a lot of people are, I work from home. You have to make an effort to be engaged.
Right.
Speaking of engagement, we're coming up near the end, but there's a couple things I want to ask you all. How are you all marketing? I mean, we're all coming from different spaces. I'm coming from a place where there's so much content out there, and you're email campaign, social media. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, you have a very different thing. You have a different thing. You guys have internal, external. Julie Glenn, the director of the venues, she and I used to make phone calls and be like, "What are you doing? Oh, what are you doing?" And so, is there anything that you guys are doing that you found is working, or you're like, "Oh, we're trying to find that mix too"?
I think it's a changing landscape
Yeah.
of how you reach people.
Ever changing.
Ever changing. I think it's being solution focused for clients who will then tell everyone else. I had an event just yesterday, and at the end of it, she said, I've had so many challenges with events, with staffing and all of this, but this was so easy. And can I get more cards, because everyone at this event is asking, how can we host our event here? And I think it's that you made it easy for that client. They're going to tell everyone
Well,
else.
and from a facility standpoint,
Yeah.
which is kind of where my heart goes.
Right.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing because you're involved in your event differently,
Right.
and it's not as you're not the bells and
Creating
whistles
the
and the
content,
pretty, and you're like the behind the scenes making sure the plumbing works and,
Right,
and,
everything's
everything's smooth. Your vendors really they're just as much to me. My vendors were just as much my client as my client. So so that's always good for you because that always feels really good.
Yeah.
I think. That's my birds chirping because I told you guys so. Like we all know I'm not a monitor. I'll see or moderator. I'm sorry. And I'm like, guys, just like your weirdness just kick in, and I Rick a couple times. I'm like, I'm gonna take this conversation. I'm like, great. I want to throw a shout out to your organization because I know they kept your staff on,
Okay.
which I found amazing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with both commitment to our team, but also being a very diverse organization. So as many people know, when events shut down, everybody started refinancing rates went way down. Everybody refinanced their homes. So our mortgage side of our business was like, oh my gosh, we need more help. So guess who learned how to do the back end of mortgages?
Which is very big thing, right? I'm like, well, now you know because everyone we know is not doing
I
real
wasn't
estate,
actually
so.
closing mortgages. Let me just clarify that.
Like,
But I
you're
was
just great.
calling to me.
All hands on
Making
deck.
sure people were employed in the jobs they said they were employed in. So, but it was great. It gave me a whole other understanding of our business. It kept us occupied. We knew our jobs were secure. And then when things
That right
started,
there, knowing your jobs
Yeah.
are secure allows you to find solutions because you're not worried about your own
Right.
well-being.
But then the company won when we started opening up. Here's all of our team back here. You go back to your jobs that you love
Right.
and
Be happy again. I mean, happier. Right.
Exactly. No, I enjoyed it. It was
One of our core values is it is your job. So no matter what needs to be done, it's your job. Like the worst thing you could say in our company is, well, that's not my job.
Right.
That's like that's how you get out.
Right.
You know, and that's a great example of it. Is you
Right.
do whatever the company
Right.
needs is what you
Right.
do to be
Right.
successful.
Well, and I'll say, that it's definitely a company culture for you guys because Mike McConnell, the president of ABL, and we had Chris Sharp, they were on our last event, said something very similar. He's like, we are looking for, when we're talking about labor and passing out names and trying to get people referrals and trying to get people connected, he said the same thing. That's what we are looking for. We're looking for people you can tell.
You anticipate the next.
You do, and shout out to your team too because you're building your capacities for people to. I mean, you were saying earlier that the reality is what the reality has been, and so things. I think you have to make tough decisions.
Sure.
Building your head count back up.
We're actually over where we were pre-COVID.
Because you need it.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. Which is that slow. You've been positive, bullish about this. This is going to be great. Things are going to happen again. The timing is whatever.
You
it is,
have to
but-
be,
Right.
even if it's just to psych yourself up for it. You can't. I mean, I think there were a lot of people in our industry that were just like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to shut down. I'm not going to, I'm going to twiddle my thumbs. And we really, I would say almost immediately we just started thinking. I can tell you, we threw a lot of things at the wall. We had foot pump dispensers for hand sanitizer. We designed a bunch of those things. We came up with all these different ideas just to, keep people busy and motivated to do something. And luckily something sticks, and that's what you go with.
Right. Well, I know we're coming up on the end here, and I want to thank all of you, your different perspectives, your shared perspectives, your time, because I know we're all event folks. I know that it's like, I want to thank
It was that
Silvana.
obvious.
I just appreciate her having also joined us and the whole kind of labor thing again, whatever we can do to help each other. If you all have ideas out there, please send me emails. I'll pass them along to people. I do think the networking pieces are really important. We forgot to say it, but I know that Rick, check out their website regularly because you guys do open houses, which is just another opportunity to run into people and meet people. And it is that referral system and the Detroit Events Councils to keep each other working and keep each other motivated and to get excited. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate you being with us, and we look forward to seeing you in the next Back to Business.
Thank you, JP. Thank